Let's talk about listening. Sometimes when kids are they're acting out with objects, just like how we had talked about with bouncing the ball or throwing the puzzle across the room or whatever from the logical consequence section. Well, behaviors sometimes don't involve an object. Sometimes they involve your actual child. They're not listening to you, and it could be dangerous. They don't want to come to you for dinner. They don't want to run. They don't want to hold your hand while you're going out on the street. They don't want to hold onto the shopping cart when you're in the store, right? That is where listening comes into play. When we listen to children, or when children listen to us, we need to communicate in a way that they understand. Children listen when they are respected, when they are talked to appropriately, and when you use words and language that they understand. So let's talk about this. If you are consistent with your expectations about whatever's happening in your daily routines, hopefully your morning routine is done now, your bedtime routine is done now, your dinner time routine is done now. They're used to their routines. They're used to moving from one activity to another, so you're not going to have a big issue with it's time for dinner, come, let's have dinner, it's time for nap, let's go have nap. You've already built those in, right, with your routines. But kids are not perfect. Sometimes there are days they just don't listen. So what do? We need to look back at how we give kids directions. This lesson is all about that. Children listen and can follow directions at different age ranges. When kids are between the ages of 0 and 2.5, they can follow one-step directions. When kids are between 2.5 and 3.5, they can follow two-step directions. When kids are between the ages of 3.5 and 5, they can follow three-step directions. So what does this mean? This means that when you give your 2-year-old a direction and they can follow one step, Johnny, pick up your shoes. If you said, Johnny, pick up your shoes and put them by the door, that's 2 steps. They might pick up their shoes and then walk over and look at the ball because they forgot the second half of that step. So, pick up your shoes. Johnny picks up his shoes, put it by the door. Johnny puts it by the door. Thank you for doing that. High five. We broke it down really simple. They understand. When your children are 2.5 to 3.5, you could say, pick up your shoes and put them by the door, and they will remember to do that. No more than 2-part directions. When your children are older, 3.5 to 5, you can give them the 3-part directions. Pick up your shoes, put them by the door, and sit down for dinner. They will remember all 3 of those directions. So why don't you take a moment and go down to below and write down some directions you say every day to your kids. Find out if you give them the appropriate amount of steps per direction. The next lesson we're going to talk about is how to interact with our kids to encourage them to follow through with your directions. And then we're going to talk about if they're still not listening, what to do. See you soon.